It was a Friday evening when I shoved a few things into my bag for a short trip to my cousin's place. Her engagement had just fallen apart, and I wanted to be there for her. Daniel, my boyfriend, didn't like the idea of me leaving for the weekend, but he didn't argue, only a clipped, "Fine, have fun." There was a tension under his words that I noticed, but I brushed it aside as him being clingy. The drive to my cousin's was long, and my phone kept losing signal. I tried to call Daniel to tell him I'd arrived, but the call wouldn't connect. When I finally got there, she was already crying, comforting how it took the whole evening. We stayed up late with cups of tea, our phones mostly on silent as we talked. The next morning I found a string of missed calls and unread texts from Daniel. His messages read more accusing than worried. "Why won't you answer? Who are you with?" I typed back a quick explanation and hoped it would settle him, but he didn't reply. I figured he'd see it later and calm down. Saturday was a day of errands and distraction, groceries, cleaning, anything to keep my cousin's mind off things. We even indulged in a full afternoon binge of her favorite show. I kept my phone tucked away because I wanted to be fully present. When I finally checked it that evening, Daniel's angry texts filled the screen. He accused me of ignoring him on purpose. I called immediately, but he didn't pick up. Instead, I received a single, cold text, "I know what you're doing." My stomach dropped. I had no idea what he meant. I kept calling, but he wouldn't answer. That night I hardly slept, worried and bewildered. Sunday morning I decided to cut my visit short and head home early. The drive back felt heavier, my thoughts racing. At his apartment I knocked and got no answer. Using the spare key he'd given me months before, I went in and found him on the couch, arms folded, staring at me like I'd done something unforgivable. Before I could speak, he said, "Don't lie. I know you were with someone else." I was floored. My voice shook as I asked what he was talking about. He pulled out his phone and showed me a blurry photograph someone had sent him, a shot of me at a cafe Saturday afternoon. I recognized it, me and my cousin at lunch after shopping, but the angle hid my cousin's face, and it looked like I was sitting with a man. I tried to explain, but Daniel's expression stayed closed off, heart tightening his jaw. I offered to call my cousin on the spot. After a moment's hesitation, he agreed. She answered right away and gladly explained where we'd been. To prove it, she sent him a clear selfie we'd taken that afternoon. Slowly, his anger ebbed into awkward guilt. He admitted a mutual acquaintance had texted him the blurry photo and claimed they'd seen me on a date. He'd believed it without asking me. A sharp ache hit my chest, not because of the accusation alone, but because he'd trusted a stranger's version over mine. We sat in an uneasy silence. He apologized, but the doubt in his eyes didn't vanish. I told him I needed time to think, and he nodded. That night I went home by myself. Lying awake, I thought about how quickly suspicion had replaced trust and how fragile things felt, how one misleading photo had nearly undone so much. I realized love without trust is like a house with no foundation. In the days that followed, Daniel texted repeatedly, trying to mend things. He promised he wouldn't jump to conclusions again and said he'd learned his lesson. I appreciated the effort, but I couldn't erase how fast he had assumed the worst. In the end, I understood this wasn't just about that weekend. It was about the cracks it exposed, not a lie that broke us, but the doubt that never needed to be there.